Hello, everyone, and welcome back to week 2 of the Ember Cinder League. My name is Jack. I'm joined here by Isaac. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Teams wanted to do a little bit of a VOD review after quite a stomp in Game 1. We do see Moo Crew moving over to Blue Side. Reminder, this is not Fearless Ban. Only real adjustments I'm looking for is on the Moo Crew side. They had banned Annie last game, and I think that Mordekaiser was too much to deal with. So, other than that, Isaac, what are your thoughts going into this draft for game 2?
Uh, I do like this move to blue side because I think blue side is generally better, especially uh with how important a few of these comfort picks can be. Uh, like for example, we saw the Mordekaiser last time around. It gives you that potential to like pick away a champion that you don't want the other team to get, giving you effectively an extra ban. So I do like the move from Moo Crew. One thing I do want to see change from Moo Crew is their style of composition. If they want to play that sort of, because it looked last game that they wanted to play front to back, the way they were like positioning for those fights, but their composition just wasn't exactly built for that. So if they want to play that way, I wasn't too like disappointed with their early games. They were able to get like farm leads basically across the entire board just by their own skill and frankly I don't want to say just being better, but like for example in the mid lane, Wham was counterpicked and yet still like about 6-7 minutes in was starting to gain like a 7-8 CS advantage, and even by the end of the game we saw that go up. So clearly these players like have like an individual like ability to be better than White Lotus Wisteria in the early game. And so all I want to see them change up is just what they play. And I do believe that they can send this one to a game 3 if they do that. That or they uh, actually play towards their composition strengths.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Wham, very proficient on the Akali. We mentioned last game 175 games now played in solo queue and here in the ECL, maybe even. This is a new team, so this is their first game, so we grab that Akali game 1, but you can't really play front to back when your mid laner is playing you know, dash in, do your damage, dash out champ. So gonna want to see something a bit more reflective of their comp. Now, if they do want to run the Akali back and try to just build a comp around it that is more appropriate, I like the Galio ban because that is like the number one. You can't win the game if you're playing Akali pick, and it's also flexible. So if the White Lotus Wisteria wanted to run back the Mordekaiser, Galio could go topside and play into that and have some pretty good innate resistances built into it. For the side of White Lotus Wisteria, continuing to target that support pool. No, not knowing right now if half crew is or half fang, excuse me, is going to be in there. Maybe they subbed in Cat Girl. We don't know in the moment, but still, anyway, I think at this elo, Nami ban is good just because Lucian Nami is going to be so prevalent, and then I think Yumi, very annoying champion, a champion that's quite easy to pick up and just kind of place into a lineup. And we're going to see the first pick Jinx, extremely common at this level and can easily take over a game.
Yeah, B1 Jinx. I mean, Jinx is just generally a pretty solid champion. You get one reset and you get excited and then win a fight. And I also think it definitely starts to kind of look towards more that sort of 5v5 composition that I want to see the adjustment out of Moo Crew coming through. So I typically am not the biggest fan of B1 Jinx. I have been pretty open about that on cast in the past, but I think with Halfingen, a pretty big what you call it, enchanter player, I think we'll be able to go through. However, the Amumu, we saw dragging it out last time out on this Amumu, and obviously the Wombo combo was Amumu Galio was doing incredible amounts of like AoE CC last time around. Obviously, the Galio isn't there to layer it up on this time around, but it was dragging it out, starting up those fights and getting a lot of value from those Curse of the Sad Mummies. And so getting it again, I like that from White Lotus Wisteria.
Yeah, and grabbing the Varus as well, one of the highest prio 80 carries did fall a bit after receiving some nerfs on this most recent patch, but if that Chains of Corruption does land when that Curse of the Sad Mummy is active, going to make it much easier for those chains to spread and infect more members. The Viego pickup on the other side, Mukru really going for just like the full solo queue comp of just like Jinx will stomp lane and carry, Viego will just take over the enemy jungle. And in this specific instance, Amumu is a jungler that is very susceptible to counter ganks and has a really big struggle early in the game. I like the Karma pairing with Lulu, or with Jinx. Obviously, Lulu is something you see a lot of people go to right away, but Karma offers you extra damage in the early game, can really accelerate Jinx, and then later, once you build those enchanter items, can facilitate and be that healer, shielder you really need. Matched by the Seraphine, so it's going to be double ranged enchanter slash mages with long range 80 carries in the bot lane.
Yeah, I do really like the Seraphine pick from the side of White Lotus Wisteria, though, especially with the Mumu. I mean, we saw the combination with Galio last time around with the Hero's Entrance, but Encore, especially how Muku were kind of standing in a line a lot of the times. If that happens again, I think these Seraphine ults can get some pretty incredible value, and it'll be extremely easy to hit if Dragging It Out has another similar performance as they did in Game 1.
Yeah, and right now I see a very similar game plan from Mukru, just minus that, burst aspect. It is still somewhat a front to back composition where you're trying to find that one initial pick that leads Jinx to the reset, and they really don't want them to play Diana. Mukru just really don't want them to play Diana. It will obviously be the Mordekaiser that is banned there, but the Diana pick is something that they also flex. That was something I saw in the mid lane pool for Canada as well as Dragon. So definitely both sides doing some research. The Akali now banned, which I think is like kind of secretly a buff for Mukru, because now they don't have to put the Akali in a team that doesn't work. So Ornn picked up, Sion picked up, no fun top lane, two meatballs going at it, and I think these last picks are going to be crucial to rounding out these comps.
Yeah, I do want to see something in the mid lane that can make it easy to target for the Viego to go there. Someone who can like start up a fight. I mean, obviously Akali isn't there, and like you said, is kind of a buff because I feel like Akali would be kind of bad in this sort of situation, at least compositionally. But I don't know, maybe an Ari can help a lot with that. Also, kind of fits into the style of composition that Muku is going to find a target onto the back lane. I mean, right now that's pretty much only the Varus, maybe Seraphine. I'm thinking. I don't know if it's necessarily in the like lineup of Wham. I know they have a few games of it in solo queue, but Orianna will be the option, and I mean it's all right. I think it's a little bit difficult to find a good shockwave currently on it. It's just obviously the like the premier ability of the Orianna, but I mean that's that little bit more extra utility for the rest of the team and does kind of start to move into make it a more well-rounded kind of front to back sort of situation. I think generally overall, Mouse! Oh, he's got it down. Mouse are hard getting locked in.
I knew it was going to be Control Mage, but I wasn't confident enough to make this the prediction for Mukru. I was thinking Syndra, but Orianna, as you mentioned, it's going to be skill-based if they can get this ball delivery, because they're going to have to throw it on to Sion as they're flying in. Viego doesn't really have a great way to pierce the front line unless they use that Heartbreaker early, and that's just not worth it. So the Orianna coming through makes sense. White Lotus, it's their flex pick, but it's also the most played for Canada, this Malzahar, and it's going to allow them to just continue layering all this CC, the game plan that they made work so well in game 1. And as we head into game 2, we are going to see if this side swap is going to work out. And going through these keystones very early, looks like we're going to see on hit Varus with that lethal tempo, and with only 2 real frontline champs on the side of Mukru. What are you thinking about that decision?
I don't think typically you would necessarily want to go with the on hit Varus here, as you mentioned, with really only Ponyboy being that tough target to crack. However, it does kind of fit what I guess the thematic we saw from White Lotus Wisteria, not only in game 1 but even in their series last week, is that they're all about team fighting. They're all about the 5v5, and I don't hate it too much when that's considered. And plus, he's kind of the only guy that can melt through this Scion as well there. So I see why. It's not a complete question mark blunder sort of decision from Voltaic Viper. It's just not something I necessarily would have expected initially.
Yeah, post nerfs for Varus, he's been played 11 times at MSI, the only major event on this patch. And of those 11 games, do you want to guess how many times Varus went on hit?
None.
That is correct. 0 times. And it's 8-3, so it's doing quite well, despite the nerfs, excuse me. As we see fighting already breaking out across the map, we have synergistic jungle starts, although it does seem like Viego grabbed... no, he did not. The ward icon on the map is right over the Raptors. They are still there, so both are going to be going from top to bot, as Dahmer getting an early grass proc plus that brittle. Some good early poke, and seems like the early game is going the way of Wisteria, which is similar to last game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit too early to call the early game at 2.5 minutes. I do like how both these junglers are moving towards the bottom side of the map, since there's, well, really not much you can do to influence this matchup in the top lane. I do think that does help the OG King Jr. a little bit more, because Amumu does struggle early on if we get into any sort of fight, and I would hope that the side of Mukru can, garner pushes around, they can help this Viego move into the enemy jungle to help Dragon out. Well, I guess not the opposite of helping out Dragon out. Making sure that Dragon out is put far enough behind to where it can't be as relevant on this Mumu as they were last time around.
Yeah, and you typically you would be correct in saying it is too early to feel a early game victor, but we already had a kill on the board this time last game, and gonna see action in that exact same lane force the flash out immediately, but Voltaic Viper caught in those flame choppers, taking a lot of damage, but it won't be enough for a kill. Half health on the bot lane duo, and both sums out of Chubby Chernobyl. Now finding Dragon out in the jungle. I mentioned how difficult the Amumu has it early game. Silence comes through. Blade of the Ruin King won't do enough damage, and honestly very lucky that that bandage toss did not land. It would have certainly been their death if they got back in auto attack range of that Viego. So a very hectic early game, but Mukru certainly coming out on top of these skirmishes.
Yeah, and I mean, we had said it not too long ago that this Viego is definitely a lot stronger than dragging it out in these isolated fights, and in that 1v1. Amumu is a really powerful champion, in my opinion, especially the lower down the ranked bracket you go. The value of Amumu does go up. However, that is the one huge weakness of Amumu, that in any sort of 1v1, Amumu just basically loses no matter what.
Yeah, and that will result in Viego being able to get the double crab, so that will be a 2-camp advantage on Amumu for quite some time. Amumu does definitely struggle with that. That's why at higher elos you see most junglers opt to go for a champion like Sejuani. Accomplishes a lot of the same things that Amumu does without as much of a risk of early pressure. Sejuani has their mobility ability free to cast rather than needing to land it onto a target, but Amumu certainly has a place, massive AoE, damage, and CC, and as you mentioned, these lower elos really does dominate. I think Wisteria just need to keep their focus clear. They have the exact same tools they did last game to be able to win this game. They have to weather the storm bottom lane. Guardian, the keystone actually, for Chubby Chernobyl. I did not notice that. You generally see Summoner Airy, but that Guardian will make this laning phase a tad easier just because you don't have to expend any mana to be able to shield your ally from the never-ending poke that this Karma is able to put out.
And speaking of this bottom lane, 6 minutes in, we saw this a little bit last time out, not to this extreme, but the bot lane of Moo Crew, Bretozel, is sitting about 30 CS up, 6.5 minutes in, which is basically entirely where this this gold lead that Mukru have started to garner for themselves comes from. And if there was one weakness that White Lotus Wisteria had in Game 1, it was the fact that they did fall behind in these lanes in farm. We're seeing it once again. So if Mukru, I think if Mukru can just like play their composition a little bit better this time around, I do think they have a better composition to what they wanted to what they attempted to do last time around. They might have a better time of it in this one, and I'm hopeful for this Mukru team, despite the fact that White Lotus Wisteria just picked up the first strike.
Yeah, their macro has been very impressive. They understand the strength of their champions in this moment. No level 6 for Viego means it's very difficult for the OG King Jr. to really dive in and try and go for these kills, even without Amumu having access to level 6 themselves. Just so difficult as Domber taking a lot of damage. Flash going to be forced out so that Unstoppable Onslaught does not land, and now Call of the Forge God brought down, but it's only in an attempt to escape. The OG King is running up here, charges up that Spectral Maw, but doesn't even need to land it. First blood secured by the OG King Jr. now in the bottom lane fighting. Voltaic Viper has to flash over the Flame Chompers. Now Chubby Chernobyl taking so much damage. Level 6 is there for Jinx. Does not need the Super Mega Death Rocket at the moment. Will not fire it. Did fire it, excuse me, towards the beginning of that fight before we pan down. But 2 massive kills secured for Mukru on the 2 champions that they want that gold on most. As now, before I kick it over, another dive being procced. The choppers will land. Karma tanking up that turret, but it is fully revved up. Kill onto Bretozel. Voltaic Viper on the receiving end, and now the minion's going to do so much damage. 3 stacks of that Living Vengeance are on Karma, and as Seraphine runs down there, this could be another kill. Recalling in the bush, but is seen by Chubby Chernobyl. Lands those double beat drops, but the W is Mantra infused. That focus resolve giving the healing, and Half Fang will be able to escape.
Yeah, good knowledge from Half Fang on their champion. It's one of the things that you don't necessarily see too often, especially if you're like not as familiar with the Karma as much, which I honestly didn't see too much of on the op.gg initially, but you know, just good knowledge that the Mantra Q does, you know, heal you up for quite a bit, especially get that second profit successfully off. So really good stuff there. But going back to those earlier fights, I think it's a little bit bigger. Oh wait,
Flash away, flash forward to follow, but this might have been a little bit too deep as Dragging It Out is here. Flash forward, hits the bandage touch, the cleanse will be there, but it does not matter. He's got other CC abilities. The burn will come through, and the second kill into the pocket of Varus. The gold lead is closing, and feats of strength go to White Lotus Wisteria.
Well, I mean, that basically just runs counter to what I was about to say, how that despite that slight mishap under the tower earlier, it's not all that bad for this bottom lane of Blue Crew. It still definitely could be worse with how much extra farm that this Jinx does have from that earlier lead. It comes through, but yeah, Bertozil just getting a little bit too excited, we'll say, on this Jinx.
Yeah, and it could have just been a trade of Super Mega Death Rocket for Seraphine Flash. Would have been very happy with that, but now in the top side, Unstoppable Force will send them forward and dodge a lot of CC, but just no mana means that the only chance will be the Glory in Death passive, putting out a lot of damage onto a Mumu, but not going to be able to get in range to take down Ornn. Another kill for White Lotus Wisteria, and going into the pocket of a Mumu means that the completion of this Liandry's Torment will come in sooner, getting onto those tank items sooner, going to accelerate this Amumu scaling quite far as Canadia flashes forward to dodge the shockwave, gets the kill with the Nether Grasp. Extremely well played by Canadia.
Yeah, that was just honestly basically perfect from Canadia. I mean, big knowledge there to know that with the shockwave, that the ball already moved, that this Orianna basically has nothing, and knowing that they have the kill angle there despite what their health bar might have shown. Very, it's just very daring and at the end very knowledgeable and well executed by Wisteria.
Yeah.
No notes.
Yeah, both mid laners farming quite well. Now the difference being Canadia having that kill in their pocket. Ponyboy pushing in the top side, and with 10 seconds until this second dragon spawns, TP available for both top laners, for neither mid laners, who are going to have to just get there. Opting to push through the bot side tri-brush to gain access. I feel like that's a very risky situation, seeing as how much CC is available to White Lotus Wisteria. Chubby Trouble caught out a little bit, hits a massive encore, and that will be the start. But the bandage toss, it misses, so Dragon Knight just has to walk forward, will go down instantly. Half Fang will come down in return. That will allow Viego to get that reset flash out by Viego, or by Varus, and by Seraphine. Varus does not go down to the Super Mega Death Rocket, but Canadia will pick up a kill now on the run, trying to silence the members of Moo Crew for as long as possible, but he is on the wrong side of the map. Zap will not connect, but eventually we will see the downfall of Canadia as the flash comes away from the Ornn Horn. It will be a 1-for-1 in the end, and Canadia still running. It feels like this has been going on forever. Flash forward from Wham. He says, how do you like it? Kill goes down, and finally the fight is over, and no one got the dragon.
Obviously the camera wasn't on Canadia, but I mean, Canadia's health bar was still really low at the end of that previous fight, and sometimes you just gotta get out of there, press B, and come back later, and Canadia just stayed around a little bit too long trying to find the kill onto Bertozil, and in the end not finding it there, and pays the price for that. And with the Drake up, the Kimtech Drake up, it might be a pretty key blunder on the side of Murkru with the numbers advantage being moved there for White Lotus Wisteria. Could potentially be a very quick second Drake for them.
Yeah, it's a good point. Spent all that time chasing down Canadia. All of that time could have been spent taking this first dragon. Both top laners still having access to teleport, but they would much rather fight to the death on repeat in this top lane. We do see another dragon start. This time Mukru having a much better position, able to flank both sides of White Lotus Wisteria. Of course, you can't see that because Spectator Cam wants us to be watching this top lane skirmish. Finally, thank you very much. We are getting down to the Dragon Pit. It is procced for the moment, but not leaving the pit. Now we see Moo Crew moving into position. All members in that side banana brush. The ball will show them vision. OG Crew pushing very forward. Lucky to hit that Spectral Maw, otherwise they would have just been dead. Wham will land the bandit. 3-man Curse of the Sad Mummy follows by a Encore, hitting 2 members. OG Crew finds a reset as Amumu goes too deep, but immediately is killed by Voltaic Viper. One more auto on Jinx. It won't be the kill there. Call of the Void will secure it. Instead, Ponyboy does teleport down, but it doesn't matter. The fight is over, and Wisteria, despite having one less member there, are able to pick up the ace.
I mean, this is what happens when you land your abilities this time around. Didn't quite get to covering that in that first fight around the dragon. But it definitely could have gone a lot better for White Lotus Wisteria the first time around. A lot of their abilities that seemed relatively easy to hit on CC targets from that first Encore from Chubby Chernobyl just didn't onto CC targets, which is just honestly just egregiously bad. But they do recover this time around. You know, you make one mistake, learn from it, come back around, find everything, and this is what happens in these team fights with the amount of multi-target CC. Again, Chubby Chernobyl with the Encore finding 3 that time around, dragging it out also as well. The flash for it with the Curse of the Sad Mummy to start out that fight. It's just, again, perfectly played around this Amumu from the side of White Lotus Wisteria. They just have shown that they have the knowledge of what they want in these fights, the moments that they need to get before going in, and, well, they found it, and the difficulty of execution is really not all that high, and so this time around they make it work. And quickly on to 2 Drakes.
Yeah, and now trying to move on to the Rift Herald. When you pick stuff like Viego Jinx, when you do get ahead in the early game, as they did, you need to make use of that gold and try and accelerate the game, end it quickly. Teleport is going to come through, and it won't be canceled. Instead, it will be contested as Canada is moving in as well. Shockwave will land onto 1. Unstoppable Onslaught will land onto none. Right now, Halfbang is too far forward, going to get hit by the Encore. Everyone will be hit by the Encore. Curse of the Sad Money does isolate Bertozil, and they will be killed in the backline. Varus is absolutely unlocked. It doesn't matter whether you go lethal tempo or on hit. When you're 6-0-7, you're just going to kill everyone. Ponyboy will get a response kill under the turret. Flash forward by Canada just to hit the Call of the Void and apply some of that malefic visions. Apply some of that burn onto Orianna, force them away, and they will grab this mid turret and most likely back off to grab that Rift Herald.
I mean, Chubby Chernobyl's Encores have been impeccable in Game 2. I don't think there has been one that's hit less than 3 members. And this time around, it wasn't even onto easily CC'd targets. I mean, the first 2 times it was, oh, well, you know, they're all right there, stunned in a line. So press R, hit all of them. This time it was Chubby Chernobyl actually starting that fight, making the plays happen for the side of White Lotus Wisteria. And I've been very impressed with them on the Seraphine this time around, as well as dragging it out in these 2 games has been particularly good. The junglers, plural, from White Lotus Wisteria definitely being the high points of this team.
Yeah, and truly understanding what their job is in the composition. Early game, obviously building that Leandri is giving them that little bit of extra damage, but once these late games run through, it is all about finding that CC, as Dahmer might have gone too far forward, utilized that Searing Charge a bit greedily to go forward, and now Call of the Forge God will not be very useful as they will go down, kill into the pockets of Ponyboy. Has a lot of health stacking up, moving on towards that Sunfire, and another good amount of gold into the pocket of Viego, but that does signal that they will be giving over the Rift Herald. Now, will admit, wasn't used extremely productively last game, so hoping to see a bit better of a usage of that Rift Herald, but firmly in control of this game are White Lotus Wisteria.
I also don't necessarily mind this from Moo Crew. It's not like they didn't get anything else besides that singular kill. They also got that bottom lane tier 1 tower, and well, that is what the Rift Herald is good for, is for cracking open these towers. So, I mean, really, it is a guaranteed tower for a potential tower, plus that extra kill. I don't necessarily mind giving that up from Muku, considering what they managed to get out of on the opposite side of the map. However, as you were saying, it is still Muku who are down about 2k gold here, and even though they did show signs of life with that decision on the map to be able to get that kill onto Dahmer there, overall, why did we... Okay, I was about to say, was there a pause or something? Wait a second, everyone's just standing still. But, yeah, we're fine. But still, it's going to take a little bit more than just one good pick in the side lane to really convince me that they are in this game. However, dragging it out, kind of out of position here.
They have to find this pick here. They can't find a 5v5 win around this dragon, but here comes Chernobyl Chubby, and they won't be able to kill Dragon soon enough. That is OG King dead. Massive call of the Forge God comes through. Voltaic Viper doing so much, but Protozal is here, does have a shutdown, gets a double kill on to Canada, just gets the kill onto Canada. Voltaic Viper is up and alive. The only member not having to back, but recognizes that they just don't have the damage to do Dragon, does Mukru, so going to opt to just push in this mid wave, recognizing that that fight got a little bit sketchy once the reset comes through from Protozal. And I do like that decision by Mukru. You've lost every single even number fight, and there's no reason to believe you're not going to lose the next one. So be aggressive, try and find that pick. But when you go so deep and you aren't able to fully isolate and kill that one target, it just gives them so much time to regroup and rejoin. Halfang walking forward now. They're going to have to try and find a steal. OG King is going to go into camouflage, trying to find a flank angle, going to the backline, flashes out, just trying to be sneaky, but he gets rooted by the beat drop. Dragon at 2k health, he dives over the wall, but it won't be enough, going to be killed instantly on the backline. Dahmer doing everything they can to keep everyone out. It looks like the side of Mukru are just going to try and retreat at this point. Ponyboy hit by the corrupting chains, and no damage really will come in response. And as they kite away from the Scion corpse, it is 2 kills and Dragon point for Wisteria.
Yeah, another very early soul point. And with Otacon up, with how clean that fight was, it's going to be even more value from the side of this White Lotus Wisteria team. Even though Mukru, they did have a few good moments earlier, I've got to call out the OG King Jr. Oh, that was a bit dangerously close to a steal from Protozal, but in the end it's fine. But yeah, in that dragon fight at the start of it, OG King Jr., it was walking forwards and then just flash away. Generally not the optimal play. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, we've had the new term emerge this year of the Baus teleport, or the Los Ratones teleport, where you teleport to a play after it's already finished, and then as soon as your teleport finishes, you just hit recall, and that's kind of become a meme. Maybe we'll see this new trend of you use an ability to go in and then flash out just to try and distract them, pull them away. Maybe one that's not as good. I can't really think of the case study where that actually proves valuable. So maybe we just learn from that mistake as we move towards the next set of objectives. Baron spawning in a minute 30. I want to go back to a point you made earlier. This year has been the league of objectives. I personally am a fan of it. I feel like it gives the game a very good pacing and gives competitive play a very good sense of win condition. But Rift Herald certainly proving to be the less important of all of them. Now setting up around that ping. OG King has to use the Heartbreaker to get out again, but it doesn't matter. There's so much damage. There's so much follow-up in this Viego. You pick it to snowball. You pick it to carry, and sitting at 1, 6, and 4, not really effectively able to do just about anything. And one thing we haven't mentioned up until this point, but at level 14, those ornaments are coming through. Already has upgraded their own item. Will be able to do the same once they get into contact with a teammate. And now inner turret destroyed. Getting that extra gold. Rift Herald marching forward. Bot lane turret destroyed. Dahmer getting onto Wham with the flash. If they're able to land another brittle, this most likely will be the kill. And may the okay. Command Dissonance will provide Wham a way out, but everything just crumbling for the side of Mucho.
Yeah, it's the Moo crew are getting slaughtered out there. Look, cooking up some decent steaks. I think, you know what? No, you know what? I think the mistake they make here is Moo crew not picking Alistair despite the Moo crew name.
Yep, that's it.
I think that's the real takeaway here is that put Halfbang on Alistair, please. But no, in all seriousness, it's just kind of slowly falling apart for the side of Muku. We were looking for. Hold on, OG.
Yeah, now committing to a kill here, they are going to get it, and now Canadia is here, but Voltaic Viper just going to shred through the clone of Ornn, kill the Orianna. They do get a turret in response top lane with that bounty, but 11, 0, and 9. Voltaic Viper has played impeccably well this entire series. One item away from, I mean, actually, with these on-hit AD carries, once you've got Bork and Guinsoo's, the fact that most AD carries build into tank items after that goes to show you how strong these core items are. I do like this decision by Ponyboy. Just keep pushing. Your team doesn't need you. They aren't pushing hard bottom side, but Canadia coming up here to match it signifies that they're trying desperately to find anything on the map. But with 35 seconds until Dragon, they're going to have to converge once again on the pit.
Ponyboy's not going to give this up, though, and if there is one point that they can play around, or at least aside of Muku, they can, is that Ponyboy is definitely feeling quite alright in this one, and he's not necessarily all that easy to answer from any of the champions from White Lotus Wisteria. So if they can like garner that pressure that Ponyboy can have, and to find numbers advantages, I think their composition, if they can use that, they can find these picks in those situations. Of course, as I say that,
finding picks, OG King handed himself over on a silver platter, went absolutely ballistic as soon as they saw Chubby Chernobyl, the viral pop star KDA skin really drawing them in, and now with a numbers advantage with no jungler on the side of Moo Crew, almost certainly means the Dragon Unstoppable Onslaught will come flying through, hit absolutely nobody. Great field goal. Chains of Corruption do land onto Bretzel, so does the Bandage. The Cleanse will get them out, but it won't be that much for Halfbang, who also go down. Bertozzo goes down on the backside. Ponyboy doing their best, but they are just shredded by this on-hit Varus. Mountain Soul goes over to the side of White Lotus Wisteria. It was already so difficult to kill them. Score the ace, the Dragon Soul, most likely the Baron, and now 4 members sitting on ornaments. I mean, what else could you ask for at this point in the game?
The Nexus.
Yeah, good point.
you can ask for the Nexus, but I don't think White Lotus Wisteria really even need to ask at this point, especially after this Baron. I think at this point they just basically walk into the base, find the they'll just. I mean, I don't even know how to word this in a way that makes it sound like Moo Crew are really within a shot, because sitting at nearly 7.5k gold down 28 minutes in, with the enemy team on a Baron, with your jungler, who frankly just, the OG King Jr. bit too optimistic with a few of these tips to find picks, especially in these later fights.
That is an excellent way to put it. Too optimistic, and at least, to give them something, it seems like they do understand how they need to win a team fight. They can't straight up 5v5, so they have to find a pick. But they see the problem is actually finding that pick. And OG King keeps diving in, keeps going too deep, and with Baron being pushed mid lane and bottom lane, I love to see this. We talked about this last week. Teams that are super far ahead, being able to close out games. We had 3 45-minute games last week, so hoping to not see that Bertozzo getting caught trying to move from mid lane to bottom lane immediately just gets blown up by a Mumu. Need to have some sort of a chaperone this late into the game, especially when you don't have control of your bottom jungle, as OG King once again gets caught out by that Nether Grasp. On the top side, it is a response of inner turret by Wham, who's now teleporting in. Did not want to risk backing and walking forward. That charge forward will land a knockup onto one. So much damage comes through onto Orianna, but the Encore doesn't hit anyone. Doesn't matter. Diving onto the bot lane inhibitor turret. They are just murdering them all with no fear in the world, and it will be a 2-0 clean sweep by White Lotus Wisteria here in week 2 of the Ember Simber League.
Yeah, White Lotus Wisteria. I don't want to say simply better, because I think there are a few like good early signs from the side of the Blue Crew, especially from their bottom lane. But like apart from that, especially as these games have gone on, like White Lotus Wisteria have like just simply showed a better understanding of what they want to do as a team than Moo Crew.
Yeah, and I mean, the performances across the board were fantastic, but I really want to give credit to Voltaic Viper for that second performance. 17-0-12. We questioned the on-hit Varus. Clearly was not an issue. Made it work every stage of the game, and who I would give player of the series was Dragon.
Oh yeah.
On that Amumu, both games. First game, the KDA wasn't super impressive. Second game, it was unbelievable. But every single team fight, it felt like even if when they didn't hit the bandage toss, able to make plays happen.
Yeah, I mean, dragging it out. Yeah, no question. Game 1 was the catalyst of every single fight. Game 2, maybe not of every single fight, because Chubby Chernobyl had a few good starts themselves with those encores, but still, generally overall, the catalyst of this team, the one that like kicked White Lotus Wisteria into gear through these fights, despite even in game 2 a little bit of a bit of a rougher early game that time around, didn't even matter. So many like multi-target Curse of the Sad Mummies turned that game, made it almost trivial for White Lotus Wisteria. Yeah, I have to agree. Dragging it out, definitely one to look at, especially since they didn't make it into wasn't there last time for week 1.
Yeah, and it is important to mention, as you just said, Moo Crew, this was their first week in the Ember Cinder League. They will be 0-1, but plenty of time to improve on that record. White Lotus Wisteria go to 2-0 with a very impressive 4-1 scoreline. No interview this week. Thank you guys so much for watching week 2 of the Ember Cinder League. Thank you for putting those two words together. We are going to see you. Never mind, everyone. Forget everything I said. We were going to be in a quick break, and then we will be right back. There is a very good reason why I was told to throw it to break, and that's because we have our player of the series joining us, Dragon or Vasily. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Yeah, absolutely.
First question, I think goes without saying. You had a very, very high prio on that Amumu pick. Tell me a little bit about the philosophy behind grabbing that so early in both these drafts.
Well, Amumu is by far my best champion. I've played across numerous leagues and I've never had it unbanned before, so we wanted to grab the Amumu as quickly as possible.
All right. I mean, understandable with how those games went. I just I want to know, is this like the team fight, like just general like group 5 we win as 5? Is that like just the general team philosophy that we should like expect to see going forward with Lotus Wisteria, or do we have any potential like shakeups in the bag?
There can be shakeups. It really just depends on the bans that we are presented. I'd like to shout out Dahmer, though, in the top lane. Being able to play with him completely weak side, very rarely having to go top, just opens up the game so much. So we're really able to play around that mid bot lane and just trust Dahmer up top to take care of his business.
Yeah, and he certainly did, only having one real setback, an early solo death, but every second after that was completely dominant. I want to talk to you a little bit about a teammate of yours that performed extremely well in that second game, Voltaic Viper in the bottom lane. Tell me what it's like jungling when you know you have such a dominant AD carry that you can go down and move to.
It makes it extremely easy to jungle when you have such a good bot lane. Both Chubby and Viper are fantastic. And if people watch back the VOD later, they'll notice that I'll be down in CS almost every game simply because I'm able to play around that bot lane and stay bot. We got prio on every single Drake. I don't think the cows got any
They did not.
Drakes. Yeah. So we're just able, with such a good ADC, we're able to force those fight at Drakes, be there first. It's okay if we throw away some CS because we know that we'll win those fights.
And with how dominant this series went, I was looking forward to perhaps what your thoughts are about Final Boss Pup Patrol, your opponents of next week. How you plan to, or maybe don't give away too much, but like, how do you expect that one's going to go?
I expect it to go about the same. I think we're probably going to 2-0 everyone from here on out.
Okay.
I love the confidence. Before we send this off, anyone you want to shout out here in the chat or watching?
I'd like to shout out all of White Lotus, UG there in the chat, talking great smack talk as well. And yeah, just everyone on my team, coaches, we're a great group.
All right, well, congratulations on the win. And as you heard me saying earlier, thank you all so much for watching week 2 of the Ember Cinder League. Make sure that you grab some merch if you are interested. Come on over to the Discord and follow there. Follow us here on Twitch. And other than that, we will see you guys here tomorrow for some more Ember League action. I have been Jack. This has been Isaac. We have Ice on production doing an incredible job. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later.